did you tell the internet that I said that about British people? Yeah, it's just a very nice keep cup.
I'm a very clean liver. I actually drink air conditioning. Well, thank you for coming, Sophia.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Seen you in a long time.
Well, I haven't seen anyone in a long time.
I bet you've seen Chris here or there.
Yeah.
You guys keep in contact a little bit. I do miss that man.
Same. Right now, I'm like,
yeah.
I'm the clingy attachment type.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I'm like, let's cuddle again. Lockdown's been great for me. You know?
Yeah.
Like, isn't this great that you can't leave?
Yeah. I like the idea of you just propositioning him with cuddling. Like, hey, remember that thing I like to do? What do you think about 5 minutes from now? What do you think about 10 minutes from then?
That is what I do. I'm like, so, baby, what are we doing tonight?
You're not even trying to look sexy. You're just trying to look cuddleable.
Yeah.
Hey,
which
what
is
do you
hard
think
for
about
me because it's just like these kind of awful hip bones and
really?
elbow bones. And
Maybe you need like some foam, like a foam outfit.
You just have to really love me to commit.
I remember I heard this guy, I can't remember who it was, but he was like, talking about how he's like my girlfriend's very skinny. It's like spooning a bike.
Yeah, I'm sure guys say that stuff behind my back.
No. Well, you're a very high-priced mountain bike, Sophia.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, I'm like one of the ones. I'm getting off-road.
Yeah.
One of the ones that as a kid, you'd be like, Mom, please.
Please, I want the Lance Armstrong special.
Yeah, biking to school is really hard these days.
Yeah, exactly. What if you were like a parent and you were really excited for your kids to go back to school, and now it's COVID. Now you have to deal with those little bastards all the time.
What's the deal? Because I've seen kids seeming at school.
Yeah.
Like, are they back?
I think
Kevvy, you're out of the parent loop here.
Yeah, I know.
Kevvy's like, and no one's at school.
No one's at school.
No, people, that's what's worse though, is that people are. Like, I saw a group of kids the other day walking and they weren't wearing masks and they were just all in a flock.
See? Filthy.
Yeah. I also noticed too, I guess they've been like away from school for so long that they don't know like how to walk to school properly. Like they're in the streets when I'm driving. I'm
walls.
Like, right. They haven't got that shoal thing.
No, they haven't had the whole year to like practice this, I guess.
Yeah,
so
walking up walls vertically somehow. Everything's changed during COVID. It's like, you know, so
wild. I'm glad I don't have kids.
Yeah.
But everyone says it's the best thing. You know?
They have to.
My hairdresser was trying to push me into it, you know?
Yeah.
She's like, it'll change your, like, it's the best thing that'll ever happen to you. And I'm like, man, I've done some cool shit.
Yeah. I like being
this.
completely selfish with my time.
Yeah.
And that includes like my jobs I have.
Yeah.
Like I like being like how I told you, I'm like, I'm going to go to LA for 3 months next week.
Well, you do a lot. You do a lot of jobs, right?
Yeah.
Like no one can, like somehow you're in every place.
Yep.
But it's like Kevvy does this. Oh, but he also has, it's like you have 4 full-time.
It doesn't make any sense, really.
Like I can manage half a career, kind of.
Well, but it's funny because she's similar. And so pretty much every time we see each other, we're just both like, God damn it.
Yeah.
But is that nice? Because you don't have time to dwell.
No, I dwell.
Okay.
That's my other job. That's my 5th job.
Right, because my goal is to be
Sadness.
busy enough that I can't like rethink my past.
Yeah.
During COVID, I was like, man, that time that I lost $1 million. You know, like it was just.
Did you lose $1 million?
Wow.
That sounds like a good story.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is a story I should tell on. I've never told this because I don't. Well, it's fine. It's fine to admit. I think Louis. Oh God, I shouldn't bring up Louis C.K. in a podcast. But you know that bootleg special that we all didn't listen to.
Yeah.
You probably didn't, or you did. Where he was talking like he's like, I lost like $20 million last year. Yeah. And he was like, it's fine to talk about it once it's gone. Like you can't.
Oh yeah.
When you've got the money.
Yeah.
You can't be like, I've.
Yeah.
But no, so I invested in a weird little cryptocurrency in 2014. And then in 2018, end of 2017, I was like, I guess I'm going to Europe. You know?
So you cashed out?
Well, no, I didn't. Well, see, okay, this is half of the problem. Well, I stayed in. I kept staying in. So I just, and then during 2018, when I was in Canada, I think it hit its peak. I was in Basque. I was in like a little coffee shop in San Sebastian, I think, with my friend. And it was still going up. And he looked at the thing and he's like, Sophia, fuck, man. You know, Bitcoin hit 25,000 fucking euro, whatever, you know. Are you allowed to swear on the podcast?
I insist.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Because he swears a lot, I think. Yeah. And I was like, and he's like, you should sell, man. And I was like, oh.
You're like, let it ride,
Well,
baby.
the problem is like everyone was telling me to sell when it was at 100,000. Everyone was telling me
Yeah.
to sell when it was at 2. So, and then I was like, don't FOMO, don't panic sell. And then I just didn't panic sell for a year. And then at the end of 2018, I was like, I think it's $750,000 now. You know, like I was sort of in like a weird, yeah. But what I'm doing is I'm just hodling till the next bull run in 2021.
Yeah.
But no, it's an odd thing to go through, especially as like a poor kid.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
like I
yeah.
think for some people, like I know a lot of developers that are like, yeah, shit, I lost $5 million when it went down. And I was like, yeah, but the thing is you have like a job
Yeah.
that you go to
Yeah.
that pays you, you know, whereas as an actress, I was like, man, this is my shot to own property. You know? Like as an actress, I was like, holy.
Well,
but-
just make a movie about it.
Well, I wanted to make a movie about like a more happier story, like a new money crypto person that's like moved into a new neighborhood,
Yeah.
but they don't have any rich person skills, but
Oh, okay.
they were in the right place.
I want to know what
love
rich
this.
people skills are.
Rich people skills.
I feel like the rich people I
tax
know.
avoidance.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, that was my thing.
Fleeing
Like,
the country.
yeah. Anyway, sorry to get so. I feel like I got grim
No,
on
I
it really
love-
because
that-
when I looked at your list, see, this always happens when I do comedy shows as well. I look at your list and I was like, okay, illegal stuff. Don't talk about all the illegal stuff you've gotten away with so far
see, now
on
I'm just
camera.
gonna ask.
You know?
Now I just want to know what crimes you've committed.
Well, no,
Yes.
so I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, don't talk about Bitcoin because no one likes to talk about that.
Mm.
Because no one likes to talk about it. Because people that didn't get in are like, don't talk about the thing. And people that did get in that lost are like, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So like, I've never brought it up in a comedy show on stage. Because I think I did it once at an open mic and everyone got a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, see, I guess people are like, what is she bragging?
Yeah, exactly.
She made money? What?
Exactly.
I don't make money.
Exactly. So I think like a comic counted he was like, I probably wouldn't ever do the crypto stuff again, you know, on a thing. So I was like, so cut all this.
No, this is what I like.
Yeah, I like it.
Because
too.
that really happened to you.
It really did.
Yeah.
And it's weird. And I feel like people will think I'm lying. Do you know what I mean? Because it's an easy thing. You can be like, oh yeah, I bought, you know, and I'm like, people will think, and I have a lot of stories in my life where I'm like, if I tell someone that story, they'll be like, oh, so full of shit.
That would be great if your self-confidence was so low that when you lie, it's about losing $1 million.
People are like, oh, did you?
This cool thing almost
Yeah,
happened.
but it was weird because it is this weird thing of like my life has, because you know how Chris Rock's got that joke of like girls can't go backwards in lifestyle. Dude, I can slide. I can go from 1 minute to being like, I'm gonna buy this cashmere sweater to being like, man, these jeans are a lot.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not. What are they? Organic? Like,
Have you bought any clothing during COVID?
just what I'm wearing.
Okay.
Yeah, it got to the point where I was like, man, because I was like, I don't. So this is a thing. I think I talked about this when I was with Ross. I don't buy clothing because I have a lot of mental hang-ups about buying it because I'm like, a slave made this.
Yeah.
You know, a river was poisoned to make this.
Yeah.
So every time I buy anything, it's like 3 days of research. So these were like sustainable, but how sustainable is?
Yeah.
You know, it's like a week of research, a week of guilt, a week of freaking out, a week of like, you know, what do petite people wear?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like, which is a constant. So
It takes
was like,
a month for you to buy a pair of pants.
yeah, it was like get high rise if you're petite because then your legs will look. This is the thing about jeans is every pair of jeans is like it will make your legs look longer. Like there's no style.
Is that the goal?
Yeah, just to look elongate. When you're 5'3",
Yeah.
just to kind of
Okay.
elongate. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. So lockdown, I spent a lot of time thinking about that and how much money I lost.
Yeah. It's funny to see, like, I feel like I've changed a lot every month. Like, the beginning of COVID, I was actually stoked. I'm like, this is great because now no one can ask me to come to their shows for a while. I'm just going to work on my own projects. I'm going to work out even more somehow.
Yeah.
Flash cut to I'm just drinking a lot.
Oh my God.
Well, that's the thing is there was during COVID, there was a lot of like, so I realized, I don't know why I'm getting so real on this
Love it.
filmed
Love it.
telephone.
This is why
tell
we're
all your
here.
secrets.
We made
It's
Oladata
Kevvy.
cry. You're next.
Oh God. Oh, easy. Well, no, I realized I went from adrenaline to adrenaline. And you guys can probably relate to that. You're in showbiz. You know, it was like, I didn't have a chance to think about how my lifestyle may have slid. I didn't because I was like, oh, I've got an audition. Oh, I've got a show. Oh, I've got a shoot. Oh, I've got it. And I was constantly living in how do I get a laugh tonight? And what is this character's thoughts? So during lockdown, it was the first time that there was that kind of stillness to be like, I should address some of the bigger problems. For the first time.
I've been heavy on the therapy lately.
Heavy on the well,
But the whole like leading up to him, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk. I don't want to dredge up that history. And then after, I'm like, I feel pretty good. Glad I did.
Yeah.
Then I'm like calm for the rest of the day.
Well, no, it's good. It's good. I think it's like it's almost like there's this box around the stuff we don't want to touch.
Yeah.
But as soon as we touch it, it's almost like doing your practice in the morning or whatever, your routine. You're like, I should work on this monologue. And you're like, no, it's a weird black box.
Yeah.
I don't want to touch it in case. But then as soon as you're inside it, you're like, oh, I'm in a box and it's nice. And I think I had a lot of those things where I was like, I should do a quick course in day trading and just try and get back, like I should. And it was all these things, but I was like, I just don't want to know what's in that.
By the way, Alexi and I are both just impressed you invested because we want to do that.
Yeah. So. Well, look, do it, guys. This is what I'd say to the audience. Like, is this my direct cam? I 100% regret talking about this on a podcast. No,
we want to talk about it.
But I would definitely buy Bitcoin now. I would.
Yeah.
Guys, 2021.
It's coming back.
4-year cycle, the half-life.
Okay.
Half-life.
That's true.
So you're using all these terms I don't even know. I'm just impressed with you.
I just I went and got like Wealth Simple, like that app
nice.
But it sucks.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay, here's what I would say. This is how I would because I never saw myself as like a money guy. I saw myself as like a
That's how everyone describes you, actually.
Like a poor hippie that was going to stay that way from birth till death, which will probably still happen, like the way things are going. Like I never saw myself, but then when I was in New York and stuff, and I kind of met some and in the cryptocurrency world, met some venture capitalists and some kind of investors and some Wall Street brokers. And I was like, these guys, no offense if you're one of those people watching, are fucking idiots. I was like, there's just this perception that we can't be that because we're the children of poets.
Yeah.
There's this perception, but it's like you meet these people and you're like, man, you're an idiot. But that's what's part of what's wrong with the world too, is like, we're like, oh, and this is one of my big political issues, which I've always, and I think this is partly why I got into trading, to prove that the left can do it. Because in New Zealand, when I was sort of first voting, the Prime Minister, John Key, was this right-wing dude, and he was a currency trader, and he was very rich. And everyone was like, he must be so smart because he's made all this money. And I was like, look, it's easy to make money. You just have to not care about it. You just have to not. And there was this perception, and I knew some guys at the time that were like, oh, rich people are smarter than poor people. And I was like, no, they just focused on making money.
Yes.
And I was like, this guy, this prime minister, he doesn't know how to run a country. He doesn't care about people. He knows how to make money for himself.
Oh, sounds familiar.
Course, and of course it was tax cuts for the wealthy. It was, and the trickle-down effect, which has been disproven, and all this bullshit. And so I think it was that thing of like, look, we can do your dumb thing too.
Sure.
But you can't do our dumb thing.
Yeah, you can't have a soul. You don't get that.
By the way, you said we're children of poets, and that should be the title of your memoir or your album, your folk album or something.
Yeah, so my parents are poets.
Are they actually?
Yeah, so so back to the growing up poor thing.
That's so cool.
It's good that you think that. I mean,
it's cool.
It's cool.
No, fuck wouldn't think that's amazing.
Yeah, so my dad was a poet and an author. Like I think he'd written his first sort of novel or published his first novel around the time my mum was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they hate it when I tell their origin story, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite. So because my mum was 17 and in high school.
Okay.
And he just got back from India, had written his first poetry book and won some sort of thing. Yeah. And then they ended up together.
Yeah.
But they're always like, mum's always like, oh, it was after the school year finished.
Yeah.
I was like,
he took me to grad, but we didn't do anything.
You don't have to tell me, mum.
Yeah.
And then she's like, yeah, and then we toured. So she was like writing poetry too. And then she actually got a poetry book published, and then they toured and like read poetry at schools and stuff. And mum's like, yes, we drank a lot of vodka And we read, because my mum's really adorable. So whenever she says something racy or dangerous, you're like, did you? She's like, she looks like a cherub, with little blue eyes. And she's like, very good. And she's like, yes, and we drank vodka and smoked cigarettes. And
that's so cute.
And spoke poem. And then she, I mean, look, if I was her friend at the time, I would have been like, this guy. And I tell Dad that, I'm like, man, I was like, you were beautiful. You were young, you don't want to be lumped with some old poet, with 2 other marriages going on. But so they lived in a teepee on an island in New Zealand, not far from Auckland. That's cool. I think Mum was like, I never want to live under a roof, and I was like, that may seem cool as a teen. But then and then they had a little like studio that my dad had built for his typewriter to write. Cool. I think just with some whatever wood they found. Yeah. This is how and then the teepee came down in a storm, so they moved the family into the studio and then slowly expanded. But it was kind of like, so Dad had a bookstore, and then when they kind of closed it down, they just moved all the books into the house. So it was like a weird library hut on an island with an old piano in it, and then kind of lots of poems, just sort of happening. And then, so we would, I think like when I realized not to talk about the poetry thing was probably when I was about 7. And I was like, it was a talent quest. And I was like, man, I'm going to recite The Highwayman. Yeah. You know The Highwayman? No. Yeah. The road was a ribbon of moonlight.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Over the purple. Well, the Highwayman came riding. And it wasn't like a cool thing. Everyone else was like Spice Girls, oh no. Yeah, you're like, did you point to her when you
She's dressed like Sporty Spice today.
Yeah. And they were doing these really cool like acrobatic dances, all the like pretty kind of cool, and I was like, ahem. And that's when I was like, what I am is not a thing I should talk about.
Why? You seem to still have some shame about it, but I just think all those things are very unique and interesting.
I guess so, yeah.
That's cool.
I guess so, yeah.
Wow. I'm just blown away. And also how you were kind of describing yourself as this like poor hippie person, but you've done all this like world traveling. Most people don't get to do that.
Buy crypto, guys. Get in there.
You too can read poetry in India.
I didn't think it was on the horizon for me. And then I did travel a little bit with my partner because he sort of earned a little bit, but I never shared it. This was before in New Zealand. I never shared it on Facebook because I felt like a lot of my friends that I grew up with weren't traveling, or they had kids and they were on. I didn't want to be like one of the things I hate is like conspicuous displays of wealth. Yeah. And I when I went and did a little bit of traveling, I kept it all off social media. Yeah. Because I just know what it's like when because I sort of thought when I was like, a struggling actress in Auckland, and I'd come off one TV show and then I was like back to working in like a kitchen factory or something, and I was like, look, I'll have enough money to save for acting classes, but I don't know if traveling is ever going to be something I can do. Yeah. And other people that feel that way, I didn't want to be like, Rome.
It's funny because it's never occurred to me as bragging that you have money is showing that you're traveling. Just because I know some people that have backpacked and stayed in the sketchiest, hostels and stuff like that.
Maybe
came back with bed bugs
yeah.
from bites.
You know what? That's true.
Bed bikes. That's a skinny girl.
That's bed bikes. Yeah. Damn it.
Yeah. I think that's the
Bed Bikes is the title of this episode.
But I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to be someone that was like, here I am in a resort, because I also think that's a lame thing. Like I think I saw an interview with Taika Waititi where he was talking about. He's like, what's success? He's like, it's not making money. It's not these things. It's and I think it's really important to have that distinction. Yeah, well, it's interesting what you're saying about making money. How it doesn't need to be like an intelligence thing, and it often isn't. If it's just a focus thing, and it's interesting because I think we're motivated all here to like make a living in the arts. It's like if we just cared about making money, we could do it. Exactly. But your day to day, wouldn't be livable for me. It has to be projects for me that I'm excited about. And that's the thing is, it's like when people say that, it offends me to my core. Probably because my dad, I mean, it's partly a bone to pick with him, but I think at one point he was offered like a decent kind of like, I think political job or something. And he was like, no, I'm just going to work on my novels. I am a poet. Yeah. He was like, I'm just going to work on my novels for the next 10 years and plunge my family into dire poverty and eat lentils and oats. I mean, that's a good vegan diet. But I believe like the most intelligent people and the most, good and caring and kind and thinking about the environment and thinking about how they can make the world a better place don't generally decide to be a currency, a trader. They decide to do something different with their lives. For sure. But there's also like, the things that motivate us.
sometimes, at least I'm guilty of this, I assumed everyone had the same motivations for the way they live their life. Like I assumed I remember I was talking to my stepdad about being passionate about things, and he was like, I'm not passionate about anything. I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, he's like, I just don't, like, I just kind of do my thing and make money, and I'm worried about my future and your mom's future and your future. And he's like, so I just kind of make money.
Right-wing voters, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
They want that tax cut. They want that extra 800 in the pocket.
But he was like, I think you think that other people are like passionate about things the way that you are, and they aren't.
Everyone got the local shaman to tell them what their deep soul purpose was at 17, and then be like, okay, this is it.
This is it. Everybody goes through the same exact thing. Yeah. So, honestly. But that is interesting because, you know, not everyone has your motivations or your motivations, you know.
No, but also not to dismiss different people's
motivations. Well, I'm not at all. I'm just saying.
Well, I did. I was like, right-wing voters. Am I right? No, but I mean, I think, sometimes people also make that sacrifice for their family or.
Yeah.
But it is weird when you meet. I think I went on a few dates with someone in Vancouver, and they were like, they were like single, not planning on having kids, you know, in their 30s, whatever. And I was like, so what drives you? You know? Yeah. They were like, oh, you know, I just do law because.
See that
I was like, I'm finding this really uninspiring, mate.
I don't want to have kids because I want to, like I said, like live selfishly. So that's my motivation. Is like I'm just going to work on projects for the rest of my life.
Yeah. But this is a constant debate because I remember my old roommate Madeline, bless her soul, was like, I think you know that. Yeah. She was like, oh, she really has such a positive view of comics. She's like, oh, it's so selfless that they go out there and they are there to make other people laugh, and they live these difficult lives and they sacrifice to do that. And I was like, man, I've never thought of it. Well, I'm like, you've got a real positive spin on these narcissists getting on stage every night.
I love that thing when comedians are like, yeah, I just went and did this thing for the story so I could tell it on stage. It's like, you can lie, you know. Yeah. You don't have to be a piece of shit.
Well, some people don't like. So Chris, my husband, who's a comic.
Yeah. Lovely Chris Griffin.
Yes. Oh, we love him. Yeah. He doesn't like, everything he says on stage, I don't know if you know this about him, is true.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, because I asked him about stuff and I'm like, hey, is that? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, whoa, so the jail thing? There's a lot. And he, like, even when we were sort of first married and stuff, and he had to kind of quickly adjust stuff. And he's like, I just hate making my old stories, switching them so that I'm married in them. I want to write all new, and I want to. Yeah. And I mean, I respect that, because I think you can sense when a comic is, it's different. Unless, you know, I sometimes act it a little bit. I'm like, oh, you're all twisted and put in a different.
Yeah.
But you can definitely smell it when a comic's like, and then they told me to get out of the library. You know, and you're like, you were never wanking in the library.
Yeah,
well, maybe.
Yeah, you're more of a hospital wanker, let's be honest. Yeah, but it's interesting because like your old roommate, like I'm just a fan really of stand-up. And so things like false premises don't bother me in the way that they bother other people.
Yeah.
False premises where a comedian just goes on stage and it's very evident they're creating something that just clearly never happened and never could. And so it's kind of a faux pas. But like my favorite comedian is Anthony Jeselnik. It's all lies.
Yeah.
So, but you just kind of sign up for that off the top, and then you're like,
it's so interesting that he's your favorite. I mean, he's tight.
Yeah.
He's not like, that immediately makes me feel insecure as a rambler.
Why?
Immediately, like,
no, but I also love, like I have a Dave Chappelle tattoo. Like I also love all kinds.
Yeah.
But
he's
like,
so tight, and and it is, when you listen to it, you're like, man.
It's just a perfectly well-written punch in the face every time. And that's kind of what I like about it as a songwriter.
Kind of like poetry.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
like pop
as a
music.
songwriter too,
Yeah, like pop music. Like the things that inspire me as a musician and like songwriter over the years have changed to now I like when it's just all the fat is trimmed out of this perfect thing.
Right.
And it's like, ooh, like I like that inspires me when I hear that.
Yeah. See, I like the fat to be trimmed, but the audience to never know there was fat trimmed.
Yeah.
Like, well, the audience to think, man, this person is just rambling, but it's the tightest ramble.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that. And I love that with songs too. Like I want that something, that artistic something.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like I was thinking about this earlier with like comedy and acting and the kind of differences. I feel like comedy is so robust in a sense. Like you can kick the shit out of your comedy set. You know, you can punch it, you can beat it. Someone can be like, man, that joke was terrible.
Yeah.
And you can be like, all right, cross it out. And switch it. And then you can still get up and it be decent, you know, whereas acting can have a sensitivity where you're kind of like,
there's a
you're
dynamic.
like, oh, just focus on that fly in the window and then suddenly all this emotion will rush in and this way will, you know, it's like a much more delicate. Whereas I can pull out an 8-year-old joke and be like, oh, this will do. You know, whereas with that, I'm like, oh, I'm bored of that monologue. Or, you know, like, I've run the scene too many times. It feels stale.
Oh, because I've heard comedians say that about their jokes.
I think they do. I think they get that, but I think they especially get that when they're doing the same rooms in town. Because a part of your brain goes, I've seen that person before in the front row. Whereas I think when you're out of town, you can be a bit more freed because you're going to like, man, they're going to love this bit from 2013. It'll be topical for this town too, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And you can tag it differently maybe.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was thinking about like back when I used to perform music. Remember that?
But I mean, COVID is.
I just mean I had so much stuff canceled, but I was thinking about like
you were canceled.
I was canceled. My tour dates were very much canceled. I was thinking about like what I like to perform live, and I think I really am like what Madeline says, where it's like I just really want to do the songs that the crowd's gonna enjoy. Like that's really like
play something we all know.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like that's why we always do like every tour we do. We figure out like a new cover that will be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to get fun. Well, like when I saw Violent Femmes, I was like, "What? This isn't Blister in the Sun." I was so confused.
Play Blister in the Sun 12 times.
I don't know this song.
Yeah,
just play that.
Play the song from Drew Carey.
But no, I agree. I mean, I think the best shows you do are like when I've had nights where I've kind of like I've not necessarily felt like going to comedy, and I've genuinely. Not to kind of like, what is it, virtue signal, but I've genuinely thought to myself, I swear to God, I've genuinely thought, you know, like these people might be having a bad day.
Yeah.
Or they might like, I've tried to get myself to a place where it's like, you know, what's going to motivate me to go to this gig?
Yeah.
You know, like maybe, just maybe I'll make someone's life a bit happier or they'll release a bit of pain or tension or something. And I've been like, if I can do that, and those are generally better gigs because you're not worried about yourself. You're like, look, I don't know how I got here in life, you know, but for whatever reason, I'm a stand-up comedian now, and you know, and I want to do something good. Yeah, I believe that I'm doing something good. You know? But then on the other end of that, you don't want to become too pretentious and be like, I'm helping the world. You know, I'm God's gift. Like I think it was, what's his name? Tom Waits. Who I love. I love Tom Waits.
Same.
Yeah. So he is saying something like, oh, you know, it's just like it's just decorations for people's mind. Or, you know, like I think with art, you want to both respect it and casualize it all at once.
Yeah. Because, for sure. That's such a good point.
Because you don't want to be too like,
precious about
I am now saving the world through laughter. You know, you want to be like, I'm an idiot, you know, above a strip club, you know.
Yeah. Well, I find that anything you think to death is artistically, you're going to ruin.
Yeah. You want to throw it away sometimes.
Yeah.
See what happens, you know?
Yeah. Like I think that can be a skill is realizing when something's finished too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just could work on the
but
same
that is a skill.
forever.
That is a skill too because most of the time I think you're looking at it as like most of the time precious people like it's not finished yet or it's not how much rawness do I retain. But a lot of the stuff I will look at, like my brother sent me his sort of novel, you know,
a bunch of writers.
Yeah. Oh my mom, my dad, both my brothers,
That's
my aunt.
so cool.
I know. I'm like the wacky capitalist. You know? Like,
That's the title of your comedy album.
Smoke, you know, doing like showbiz, which pays like incrementally more. Yeah. Depending on how well your novel does. But I was actually more saying to Rowan, like, man, this isn't finished, my brother. You know, because I think with comedy, you actually learn tightening skills you wouldn't learn in any other art form.
For
Like,
sure.
I mean, maybe music's similar, but like, because with an acting scene, almost the rawer the better. I want to turn up and kind of be like, man, I didn't even realize that was gonna. And you want some of that magic in comedy, but like, as you know, your hour of new jokes becomes 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and I think that rigor of kind of like, I think it's because it's constantly audience tested.
Yeah,
I think
for
if
sure.
you're on your own writing out your joke book, you'd be like, this is all great. And that happens to me a lot because my mind is a bit weird. Like that I'll be like, man, this will be, and then people be like, no one knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit. Because I remember once when I sort of first arrived in town, this comic was kind of bitching about a person that had done a joke similar to them and was stealing their,
Yep.
and I was like, hey, if you ever think I'm like, it would be accidental, just let me know. And she was like, no one would think you're stealing anyone's jokes.
You're like, thank you, but also, how dare you?
Yeah, but also, what? Like,
That was accomplice assault.
but yeah, you have to really, and I was looking at it being like, man, if this was a stand-up set, but maybe it is just a different, I'd be like, man, that's got a bit of junk, or that's got a bit of, especially if you're wanting to be funny in a chapter, that's when my brain instantly goes, maybe just even as a number, I go, 25% of these jokes can stay.
Yeah.
Just straight away. Because I know that that's a good number,
Yeah.
So when someone's being funny in a book, or my dad's been writing some like funny poems during lockdown, and I'm like, and I just want to kind of be like, well, that's a good punch, but you need to cut that fat, and like that's
You should put them on Twitter.
Yeah, well, he puts them on Facebook, and then he reads them, and then Mum does like an art picture.
That's so.
My mum's an artist.
Wow, they like each other
And then
still. I love that.
I know.
It's so rare.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is what I was saying to Sophie the other night. This is maybe a funny story, but because they're such believers in true love, because that's how they justify the
They
rampant
sound like
poverty.
poets.
They're like, oh, we've got true love. We've got that.
It's
And
amazing.
I'm like, that's lame. Can I have the just dreaming of like two rich parents that despise each other.
Yeah.
In this mansion, it was so awkward growing up, but so nice.
Yeah. We got a mansion, so we don't have to see each other.
Yeah, exactly. But they're like, these. So I sort of grew up with all these ideas about like true love and romanticism, and read a lot of like Shakespeare, and and that's not a good thing, I think. For, like, I wouldn't do that to my kid because it ruins your game so hard. Like I remember, like, I think I was like 17 and I went on like a couple dates with this guy. And then like, I think he'd like, we'd been out on like one, we'd like hung out. And then he hadn't like texted me. And I was like, I'll text him something cute, but I'll do it in like Shakespearean verse.
Yeah.
Because he'll love that. It's like
17-year-old guys
like,
are.
Dude,
Yeah.
And then so
They love a good sonnet.
Yeah, I sent my like original verse through, and then I never heard from him again.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So at that point, I was like, oh, it's not just the acne at this point. It's it's not the posture. It's me. It's something I.
No.
Oh no!
His loss.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I think he's a pilot. I think but prior to that, I was all like, he's a pilot, and then after that, I was like, bus drivers of the sky. I was like really dark on it. I was like, thinks he's all that.
Yeah. Bus drivers of the sky.
This.
Yeah. Well, that's when I thought of that, because I was like, whoa. It's that weird thing of when you date someone, you want like whatever they are, you want to be the best thing.
Yeah.
But whenever it's over, whatever that is, you want it to be the worst thing.
Oh yeah. Like the thing that you used to celebrate is now the thing you're like.
Yeah. You're like, that's not cool at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it's interesting hearing people how they speak about their exes. It really is telling. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're saying that I'm mean.
I'm not saying you're mean because
No, I love my real exes.
Yeah.
The ones I actually went out with for a while.
Yeah.
I adore them.
Yeah, that bus driver of the sky. Guy left you on red. Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
That's not what I'm talking
If you're gonna
about.
actually like be with me for a while, I'll love you forever.
Yeah.
If you're gonna leave me on red after a sonnet,
I wrote a sonnet. You never wrote a sonnet.
and it was decent.
I want to know what it was. I want to
I
hear
don't,
it.
man, that was some Nokia. I don't know. I don't know
I was
what.
playing Snake.
Yeah.
Also, whoever that guy is, planes basically land themselves at this point. So
Yeah.
let's not.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bus driver of the sky anymore. It's
I'd say
like-
being a bus driver is harder, actually. The
Whoa.
people you have to deal with.
Well, this
The
poor
children?
guy. I can't even remember his name. He's gonna be.
See? It's not worth remembering.
Yeah.
I like the segment we've been having sometime on this show where someone will just come on and they'll tell us a story and I'll tell that person to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
It really is like when Ambika came on. Because,
Yeah.
Ambika Voss.
Oh, I love him because
Yeah, she went on a dating show and the guy was like, I don't think I'd like to go on another date with her. And I was like, fuck you, Clayton, or whatever.
Duncan.
Duncan.
You've got to be quite brave, I think, to go on a dating show, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of I like just dealing with that rejection. I mean, dealing with that rejection at any point, let alone dealing with. I mean, at that
Publicly.
point, I was like, man, fair enough. I can see what this guy's.
When you get sheepish, your hands go in your pockets.
I can see where this guy's coming from. I'm
I do sit awkwardly after all.
He made some great points.
Yeah. Because I had, just like I was telling Sophie about this on the podcast, during lockdown with Chris, like he noticed a few things about me that were like a bit strange,
Okay.
that I was like, oh man, how is this not? Because like I was talking about like when my dad eats, and I was like, oh, he does this weird. And he's like, Chris was like, oh, does he eat with his mouth open?
It's like, is that hereditary then?
And I was like, wait a minute. And I was like, do I? And then I really freaked out, and I texted Madeline, and I was like, hey, did you ever notice that I ate with my mouth open? And she was like, I thought we talked about this. And I was like,
she's like, remember I told you I hate that?
I was like, I don't remember. And she was like, yeah, I said like, you just said that you should love me as I am. And I was like, good reply from me. But also I was like, who else have I lost from this kind of? And my Chris was like, oh, it's not that bad. I only noticed it that one time when you were eating those olives. And I was like, man. And I was like, this. Well, I was pissed. I was like, Madeline, this was bigger than the bath mat thing. Like you should have said, like, because she was so focused on me using the bath mat that I was like, you should have said.
Yeah.
About the chewing thing. But so now, and I was like, okay, I know it's late in life. But I was like, this is a thing I'm going to change actively. So then I was like very careful, like all breakfast just in there. But it took so long to eat anything. And I can't talk incessantly, which is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
So I'm just there at breakfast just.
Chris is like, are you deep in thought this morning?
No, I'm just poor. Chris is like, nice, some quiet time.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was like,
he looks up, he's like, it's quiet in here.
So he's like, because we're from different, I'm from a family where like you were saying with being out with comedians.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable in that because talking over each other. Some eyes just looked at me. It's like talking over each other is like a normal, hello there, a normal thing. It's like, let's all yell over each other. And whoever yells the loudest wins.
Has the best point.
Whereas Chris is from a kind of quiet Calgary home, where everyone's just, and it was sort of experiencing a family not talking for some moments. And I was like, is something wrong? But no, so then like Chris, like when I was like talking to my brother on Skype, because he's in Germany. We still call it Skype, but we really use Facebook, don't we? We're like, it's, I'm Skyping someone. Because no one wants to say I video called on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to him, and then Chris like has been out for a run. I think it was like midnight. It was during lockdown. We were just doing whatever we felt we needed to do. So then he came back in, and I was talking to my brother, and he had thought that I was having a huge fight with someone.
Oh.
But that's just my normal volume of talking to I'm like, oh, you idiot. I'm like, we're just having a loving, but he's like, I can always tell when you've been talking to your family because your volume's like way, and then he needs to bring me back. He needs to be like, baby, inside voice. I'm in bed like, what?
Oh man, I just remembered, being from New Zealand, the singer Lady Hawk?
Yes.
She's my friend, and we were somewhere once, and she was talking about how people in LA hate Red Hot Chili Peppers, and she was like,
do that.
They're the fucking chilies, man! And smashed the table.
Who are these people? I know. It's like Kiwi, like, fuck. Kiwi chicks, there was a lot of, like, when I arrived, like, I didn't realize there were these attitudes towards Kiwi. Well, people that know Kiwi women, but my friend, I knew one.
They're good opinions about Kiwis.
Good things, yeah.
Yeah, it's Australians they don't like.
Yes. I know, we really snuggle under that. That's why I've got that bet, my sort of comedy bet where I'm like, oh, we're different,
Yeah.
We sound different. They're criminals.
Well, Pip, Lady Hawk was like, listen, we're like Canadians.
Yeah.
Australians are like Americans. Okay?
That's made a lot, yeah. But my friend Jesse said to me when I arrived, this is one thing I do notice. And he was like, because he lived in New Zealand, that's how I knew him. He did comedy there for a few years. So when I came, he was like the only person I knew. And I was like, what's Canada like?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, look, Sophia, you're going to need to swear a lot less.
Like, what do you mean, cunt?
I was like, fuck you, man. But no, he was like, I just don't think you realize. And then I loved, I wanted, and I still think, when you think about a Facebook thing that you wanted to share and you didn't, someone shared like a down the police, Canada gets in there. And I thought it was so funny, but I was like, I know that no one else will think this. And I didn't share it. Because I was like, I know that this is like a 1990s like hack bit. But to me, it's so funny. and I know that a couple of people in New Zealand will be like, "Ooh, Canadians are so," but I was like, no, don't. I resist a lot of stuff because I know from experience that people are like, that's not as funny as you think.
Yeah.
Oh man, especially on social media.
Oh, I know. No one even cares. I'm like, I don't want to add to the.
Yeah, I know. It's like not fun ananymore.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know what to do with Facebook anymore. I'm like, do I keep sharing my political views?
Oh man.
Or do
I feel like such a boomer when I do it, but I'm like, it's important.
That is how we're seen though by the youth.
Yeah.
The youth.
Well, they're on Instagram. Like, I don't know what to do. I mean, my social media game's never been strong. As based on my handle, Sophia Johnson 505. Give me a follow. That's a story in itself. Like, I don't even need to tell you what that means. Like,
I think you do.
Well, no. So I was like, I tried for Sophia Johnson, and they were like, we don't have it anymore. And I was like, man, 5 years too late to the party, you know. And they were like, how about Sophia Johnson 505? And I was like, man, I guess that's my only option.
Well, you think I like being Dr. Kevvy? Kevvy's taken, and he hasn't even logged into his Instagram since 2013.
What?
And he accidentally gets tagged by people all the time.
Get rid of that guy.
Yeah,
let's kill him.
You can actually.
Good idea, Sophia.
Yeah,
let's kill him.
And it's funny. I just realized I'm Alexi Johnson, and I've been like looking forever for Alexi Johnson, but that one's active. But the ones that aren't active, you can go in and like request that they like remove them, and you take their username.
Oh, hey. There could be some. I mean, but I've been told options. People are like, you can change your handle and you don't lose followers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this science? I'm like, but I'm thinking about it because every time they're like, okay, plug your social media. And I'm like, Sophia Johnson 505. And everyone else is like, the blah, blah, blah. Right? And I'm like, but then I'm like, I don't know. I think social media is hard because, and it's always bad when something's more defined by what you hate about it than what you love about it. Like, I think for me, social media, like, I want to be like, oh, I love when people share this. And I love, but I'm just like, I hate it when actors are like, audition today, LOL, Or like, I mean, you guys, it's hard for people to understand that don't have 400 actor friends. Yeah. But it's like the worst.
Oh, yeah.
Lowest scum level of like self-promotion and just horror. So I'm always trying not to do. But I think I should be like, oh, I love it when. It's more positive.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I love it when people post something helpful or thought-provoking or beautiful or like actually post some content that's real or some like cool tips or some like.
That's actually helpful.
So I'm like, what if I was looking at someone else's social media? Would I be like, oh, that made my day a bit better rather than,
Oh man, I found that like Facebook was just really getting me down for a while because it was people would express something political on Facebook and then people would jump all over them. And then the people who were jumping all over them being like way crossing the line of negativity and meanness were getting supported by other people. Yeah. So I saw someone on a other comedian's page post something. Like a comedian posted a defund the police joke, and then someone didn't get it was a joke.
You're talking
about.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think so too.
And then
you know what?
Yeah.
Well, this was huge. This was like the biggest comedy drama of lockdown.
Well, just the negativity of the person who was just questioning it was just. You should die, you're ugly. It just got so mean so quick. And it like, I wasn't even involved and it hurt my feelings to read it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm too sensitive for this.
Well, it happened. I mean, I did talk to, one of the guys in Follow, and he was like, this is actually racism. This is actually scary. It's
really scary.
And I was like, look, me and Chris will come down to the show if
Yeah.
you're ever feeling uncomfortable and I'll be the muscle. Like, but no,
you are very intimidating.
And it happened again. I mean, you're probably, I don't know if you were in this loop, but it happened again last week. With someone shared something and then the comments were like, I think someone was like, I wouldn't, about a producer in town, like I wouldn't mind if she was nailed to a floor in a burning building.
It's just horrible.
And I was like, but it's hard to know like how to kind of be with like, because I definitely agree with that thing of like, the only thing that's needed for, I'm going to paraphrase this quote horribly, for evil men to triumph is good men to do nothing or whatever. Yeah. So it's like, I think I just, in the end, I supported the other person's post and just liked it and said like something positive, like we love you and we support you. Because you don't want to get involved as such into the spiral of doom that's happening. Yeah. But you also don't want to just like accept.
Like, for sure.
You don't want to be like, I'm okay with this or I'm not going to stand behind this person who I think need support right now and that I agree,
Absolutely.
you know, like.
I also think you're not going to
exactly.
teach anybody anything by being horrible to them.
Yeah.
You're just going to make them defensive. So if you actually have a conversation and are respectful with each other, everybody's going to benefit from it.
Oh man, imagine if the world did that.
Yeah.
It's like tonight's debate night and you're like, if people just listened and were respectful.
It's like this in relationships too. If you're insulting each other, it's a selfish act because you're not accomplishing anything other than stroking your own ego. So what is happening in this podcast?
Oh my God.
You and I are usually so
Guys.
wacky.
I'm sorry. I know
I'm
well, this
usually telling
happened.
people's exes to go fuck themselves. Not this episode.
I can be a downer, man. Well, no, because when I did one with Ross, like we started out and then I was like, when I was working in this kitchen factory, and I was crying every day and my hands were aching and I started getting into factory rights and, you know, and then Ross
I
was
can
like,
relate so hardcore
Oh
to that.
yeah.
Ross was like clothing and then by the end of it, I was like, I know this was meant to be funny. And I'm really sorry about what's happened.
No.
But it's hard. I mean, it's hard now too, because
Yeah.
when you do start just having a deep chat with someone or where someone kind of is like, hey, I'm going to listen to you for a bit.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Ooh. You know, let me tell you about some mistakes I've made in life. Straight off the bat. You're cutting that, right?
Never. I would never cut you. By the way, I remembered something I was going to say like 15 minutes ago about chewing with your mouth open. Is I have a friend who he got accused of it and he's like, my teeth are big.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is the issue. I think I've got more teeth than I do mouth. But I think because I've got kind of a small mouth, but I've got a lot of this. You know? So I think I'm like, early on, I just sort of it came to a thing where I could talk, hum, sing, eat, do it all. You know,
all at the same time.
Yeah. But no, now, Kevvy, I'm really working on it.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't want it to be a thing. Because some people, like my cousin, like the sound of chewing, like it's considered. And like Madeline said to me when I sort of called her up and was like, hey, Chris has noticed I chewed. Was that ever? And she's like, it's considered. I think Chris said too. It's considered like top 10 date.
Faux pas?
Yeah, like walk away, you know. And so I was going back through my mind being like, man, usually though, if I'm like really into a date or something, I struggle to eat because I'm like so excited.
Aw.
So I'll be I'll always order like the smallest thing and then I'll just have like one. I'll like have like a spoon of soup and then be like,
You're like 10 more drinks.
and then I'll be like, and then what were you gonna say? I have a way I can lose a lot of confidence. So I'm like, okay, so you're okay. I've got like negative game. Like you've got to really like me. To
Really?
Be like, yeah, because I'll be like, okay, so then. Ooh, and then I'm like, I'm smiling too much. Like, no, I'm smiling too much. Like, you know, I look better when I'm.
You do better when you don't like the other person. You're like, I'm totally comfortable with this.
Like, wow,
I don't care about you at all. You bus driver of the sky.
Well, no, that didn't go well for me either. Yeah, but I'll tend not to. But yeah, I was looking at the date stories and I was like, this is hard because I was saying to Sophie the other night too in Vancouver, it's so like the New Zealand scene's so different in terms of, I don't know if I ever dated. I just sort of, because I remember I met a guy here from somewhere else and he was talking about New Zealand. He's like, oh, New Zealand people, they're all like in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we kind of couple up. Whereas here, there's like, I don't know, everyone's like, I'm single. I don't know, it's just a different vibe. But I think dating here is very hard. Like, just subject. Like, I've read
always
articles.
what I hear.
Everyone said like it's crazy. And I was saying to Sophie, I think it's like, you know, here, I think it's like 2 girls to every 1 guy. Or
Oh, really?
Like, wow.
There's some math or whatever. But I was like, yeah, here you have to pretend to like jazz. You have to be like in New Zealand, you'd be like, I'm just gonna date someone less pretentious.
I
like,
hope Sam Tonning isn't listening.
As I said that, I was like, Sam will be like, yeah.
His neck just hurts for some reason.
And then he went and quaffed a whiskey and played some snooker. I was like, why do people think I'm pretentious? No, I say that in loving Sam Tonning as
Love
a human
Sam
being.
Tonning.
Everything about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I respect someone with refined taste.
It's funny though, because I will notice in stand-up comedy, there is a sect of people who have that taste.
Yeah.
It's like Sam Tonning, Miles Anderson.
Yeah.
Who else? There's a couple other
like
people.
Miles
oh,
is sort of a-
Joey Camiso was like talking about that the other
Oh, I
day.
didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah.
Joey, yeah. Joey sounds like such a thug. We shouldn't talk about someone you don't, I mean, hopefully the audience knows.
We just had Joey on
great,
and
yeah.
we didn't even get to talk. It was hilarious.
I won't do it. I won't do
It's
it.
like, so I
It's like,
embarrassed
New York-
myself in front of Michael Douglas.
Wow. He's such a gangster, hey?
He is, but he's a sweetheart.
I know.
He actually,
he's like, I got a baby now, and
I got a baby now.
So cute.
I like it because he has quintessential Queen's Italian accent, and he's like, I don't know how to speak Italian at all.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, he probably told you the story. I shouldn't do Joey's gear on my podcast.
Just do Joey's whole set,
but
I say.
he was saying that like police would pull him over all the time just because his last name was Camiso.
Oh, really?
And he was like, and they were like, oh, is your uncle gonna... Like, he's like, oh, people would be scared of me at school. They'd be like, and he was like, who's my fucking uncle? Because Joey's like the most gangster affiliated seeming person.
But he's the sweetest.
Without knowing any gangsters.
And
you know?
he's so emotional and kind. And like, he actually messaged me after. He's like, I'm sorry I talked so much. I'm like, no, that was perfect.
Yeah.
I was telling Alexi, it's like.
That's what I text everyone after every day. I'm like, man, I'm sorry if I just dominated that and I didn't listen enough.
You know what's funny though is like having some friends from New Zealand, I realized it's kind of fine to interrupt.
Oh yeah. Go for it. Just go for it. Like, we're waiting for you. We don't stop and start. We go until you interrupt.
No silences at all. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a podcast. I don't know. Is the podcast format better when you kind of chill? Like, I'm worried about my my Sophie Buttle podcast, but I did on was it Sunday? Yeah, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Because her and I have like, well, this is my interpretation of it, is that I've had a friendship crush on her for a while.
Yeah.
And I hope she feels the same. But so I was like first date nervous. You know? Like I was like, Sophie's coming over. You know, I'm gonna bake a cake. Which I did. And she's like, oh, I'm doing like the 16 eggs. And I was like, oh, just shoving the spice cake into the
You're like, no cake, no problem. Out the window.
Like, pulling out all this stuff. But like there was so much stuff that we just never talked about that I'd wanted to tell her about me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't know this, but we have so much in common. You know,
this.
like
Yeah.
I was like, my dad smokes weed too, you know. I'm like, my mom's an artist too. you know?
Yeah.
So our podcast was so structureless because I think we were both just like, blah, 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 blah. And neither of us could finish a thought because like literally we'd be like, I'm going to talk about this, but first, and then we never got to even the second.
Well, that's why you got to do another episode.
Well, yeah, we have to do another one. But then at one point she said like, oh, Smile Club Direct is bad because I did it and it didn't work.
Got it.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, I got the Invisalign. It's great. And then she was like, and I was like, that's the only thing people are going to get out of this podcast. Like, they're going to be like, man, that was a lot of crazy. But they're going to be like, oh, don't do Smile Club.
But it's been working for you.
But it's working for you.
Oh, I had Invisalign before and they like didn't fix my two front teeth. And that was like the only thing I really wanted them
They're
to
like,
fix.
I live in America. I'm not British. Like, fix this. What is this? London, mate?
That's her talking to her dentist.
Why is this
What's
London?
this bullshit?
I just turned into Joey. I was just like, what's going on?
What's
Like,
going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. Like they're fixing it. I'm a little bit worried about my bite though, because it's like I had like bucked out teeth, sort of, sort of, and they're like just turning them inwards. And now I'm like, am I going to be able to like? Am I going to be like full like underbite at the end of this?
You just can't eat pizza now. It just slides around in your mouth.
God.
So you think Smile Club Direct is better than Invisalign?
No. I mean, like it was good to do.
You just
like,
had a bad dude.
Yeah.
A bad guy.
I think like I just like they fixed all of the big issues with Invisalign, and now I'm just going in and like he just fixed
tinkering.
these two little teeth.
Ooh, I'm nervous for you, man. After what Sophie said, man.
I know.
What happened to Sophie?
Well, she was just like, it's not going well. Like,
Oh, no.
she didn't go into any specifics. You have to. When next time you have her on, be like, girl, what are we? We're in this.
Oh no.
Let's talk
$3,000
Sophie.
in this.
Yeah.
What are we?
It's definitely. But I mean, I think my like fix is so like minimal, and I did all the research into like, you know, people saying negative things like after I had ordered it, and I was like, oh fuck.
Oh man.
But I'm like, I'm trying to stay positive. I think it's good. I think it'll be good. But like,
I
I think
you saw some positive results like right away.
I'm definitely like, I'm seeing some positive stuff. I think if I wanted to do anything like more than like just my two front teeth, I'd probably be fucked. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I think about this a lot, as I said with the England thing, because they're like famous for having crooked
Trash teeth.
Yeah,
Just
I
say
know.
it.
And they're like, and then Chris said, I don't know if I just said this on the podcast, but because Chris went to London last year, and he was like, man, British people are so ugly. And he was like freaking out. I was like, what? Like, no, like just as a generalist. And then I thought about it and I was like, this was my thought. I was like, okay, so like British people think American people are shallow, and American people think British people are ugly.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe that's why they don't
Like-
get along. They hate each other.
And they're like,
Clearly hate
what?
each other.
But no,
Yeah.
but it's like, and then I like sometimes I'll Google articles about it. I'm like, is this a? And then there were all these articles about it, and they were like, if you date an American girl, these are British, if you date an American girl, you know, they'll end up taking you to the dentist, you know, making you do a cool-on flush. You know, it's a totally different world, you know? Yeah. And I was like, man, I guess there is this. But then I'm like, is that bad? Are we becoming obsessed with having to have, you know, like maybe the British people are just chilling.
That's true.
You know, with their gnarly.
And just relaxing with their
just being deep.
Totally horrible faces.
Just being deep. I know it was brutal. I was like, well, Chris is probably going to be like, why did you tell the internet that I said that about British people?
Oh, that's okay.
But we're going to edit a lot, right?
We're just going to cut all the Chris Griffin stuff right out.
Yeah, that stuff's gone.
Then he'll come in and talk about you.
Yeah. Well, no, because I know he watches stuff. He because when he was watching, he watched it all, and he was like, "Oh, interesting that you told them about my drinking." I was like, yeah.
I will say that Chris Griffin is a responsible drinker because he and I hung out one night.
He doesn't drink anymore, really.
Oh well, that's it. Yeah, that's the most responsible drinking is just stopping.
He's chilled. He's really chilled since marriage.
Okay.
He's really pulled it in. Yeah. He's like, life used to be fun. Now life is like,
cuddling,
I'm married,
spooning.
But like one thing that like Chris says as well, I was saying to Sophie is funny. Is like because I like cook for Chris and you know I'm an actress and I do whatever diet that is, you know, whatever fad diet that is. You know, I'm like, have some chia, my love, you know, another green smoothie perhaps. Aww. You know, and then and I love like watching Chris drink Big Pollen and be like, oh, he's getting so good inside. But then Chris would just during lockdown would just lie in bed and list his favorite fast foods.
Oh yeah.
He'd be like, okay, Taco Bell, Shake Shack. Yeah. When I like the fries from Wendy's, but I like the burger from McDonald's. And I'd be like, man, I need to make some meat or something this week because this is good. Like you just lie there and be like, okay, what are my favorite takeouts? Like,
sometimes that's a fun diet move. Like when I'm fasting, it's just to think about what I'm gonna have when I'm done fasting.
Yeah.
It's like a survival method.
Yeah, but we'll drive to Abbotsford or Chilliwack to get Taco Bell.
Oh yeah, the KFC Taco Bell.
Yeah, because there isn't a Taco Bell, and
is there not?
No. Oh man, this is like a daily discussion at home. Like Chris is
like,
there's no Taco Bell.
A daily discussion had on the drive to Abbotsford to go to the.
I was like definitely thinking of Taco Time because there's like a Taco.
Totally
time,
different, Alexi.
Yeah. Oh, Kevvy knows.
I know.
See, I didn't know all these nuances.
Yeah. Taco Bell is like an American. More like an American kind of thing, and KFC. There's like not
Chris
really KFC.
will come to life
Garden as
with
well,
like
right?
Taco Bell in his eyes. Like he'll be like Taco Bell.
Taco Bell has great hot sauce. That's what I will say. I love fast food hot sauce for some reason.
Oh yeah. McDonald's salsa.
Oh yeah.
Is with the breakfast burritos.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
we're hungry.
Oh, we're so hungry.
We're doing food. I know because then we Skyped with my mom on Chris's birthday, and it's like, oh, what are you doing? And so Madeline ordered Chris McDonald's like on Uber Eats as like a funny like prank present kind of thing. And then I thought Chris would be like kind of over it because like he'd been doing this like semi-raw vegan thing for the last 6 months, looking amazing, you know. And I was like, he's probably like he probably finds it too salty now, you know. But Chris fell on it. You know, with just like this unimaginable zest.
Well, like, it never goes away. It's like, you know, Super Size Me, that documentary about the guy that ate nothing but McDonald's for a month. Yeah. And then he stopped, and his wife at the time is this vegan chef. And then I saw him go on Letterman, and he was like, this is like a year later. And he was like, what happens when you walk past McDonald's and smell it? And he's like, oh, I want it so bad. So that's never going to go away.
Man. Yeah, he just, and then like my mom Skyped and I was like, oh, you should Skype and say happy birthday to Chris. And she's like, oh, happy birthday, Christopher. You know, so my mom goes, hello, Christopher. You know, she's in the garden.
French fries sticking out of his face.
And then she's like, what are you doing for it? You know? And Chris is like, oh, I had McDonald's. And mom's like, oh.
Sorry to hear that.
Mom was like, we don't eat McDonald's. She said, she goes, it's against our ethics. And then the rest of the day, Chris was like, McDonald's is against our ethics. Chris likes to speak Kiwi.
Yeah.
He's like, I speak Kiwi. Because his big thing at the moment is we'll say like, oh, I've got to go to hospital. And he's like, oh, you're not going to say I'm going to go to the.
Yeah.
So he's like, babe, I'm going to go gym.
Yeah.
Which doesn't actually sound weird to me.
It's just efficiency.
No. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to go gym. He does like the Kiwi. He's like, I speak Kiwi.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah, he's fluent in other languages. That guy's multifaceted.
He's a multi-talented man.
I do love Chris Griffin.
It's the theme of our podcast. We love Chris Griffin.
Yeah. That's the
Some of
title
us
of it.
more than others. Some of us committed to marriage.
Wow, that is commitment. All right, Sophia, thank you for coming on the show.
Okay, I could feel you trying to wrap up for the last 10, and I just pushed it
No,
away.
I wanted to talk about hot sauce more, but that's the kind of thing you do while you're eating it.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me on.
Of course.
I'll text you and let you know what goes in the edit. And
Send us your timestamps.
yeah. No, thanks so much.
Of course.
Sorry if I talk too much.
No, it was perfect.
No, it was a blast.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You and Joey Camiso should do a show together.
Yeah.
We'll just leave the room.
What? Me and Joey?
Yeah, you guys can just.
No, because I'm like, whoa, Joey. Because Joey, like when he gave me a lift home, we did a show just recently, and he was telling me about his life really earnestly.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can't. I couldn't
He's
riff with.
really
I didn't want to
interesting.
riff. I wanted to be like,
That actually would be a good podcast, them two.
Yeah.
I was just like, Joey, tell me more about how fatherhood has changed your perspective.
We should do an episode of Comedy Here Often where you and I aren't in it and it's them two.
Me and
Yeah.
Joey.
That'd be great.
And he'll be like, Silas. I was like, Joey.
You do an impression of him and he does an impression of you.
Yeah. Oh,
He'll be like,
that's
"G'day,
so
mate."
He does weird Australian accent. Yeah. Okay, Sophia, thanks for coming on.
Bye,
Go
guys.
ahead,
that
plug your
watched.
Instagram again, 505.
Follow me on Sophia Johnson 505 for hot stock tips.
Bye.
Bye.